Hello students, I'm Mr. Parmenter and I'm so happy to be here with you as we read and learn together. Today is all about problems and solutions. Please get a paper and pencil ready because you're going to need them in a little bit as we practice this skill together. I'll wait right here while you grab it. Welcome back. Do you remember the name of the book we started out reading from in a previous lesson? It's okay if you don't, but yell it out if you do. That's right, that book was called How to Steal a Dog. We've been learning that fictional stories always contain a problem called the conflict. And as the story unfolds, the main character is trying to solve that problem, and that's how the story stays interesting for us. In How to Steal a Dog, the main character, Georgina, has a number of different problems that she has to solve, but one of the most important ones is that she's homeless. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but there's a great solution to that problem in the book. Sometimes if a problem is really big, it can be hard to know where to start. Homelessness is one of those really big problems. When we read the informational text together, do you remember how many people are homeless on any given night in the United States? Tell me that number if you remember it. Great memory, 500,000. That's a huge problem, and it's a very hard one to solve. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible. As we read more about it, we learned about some of the myths or false beliefs about homelessness. Do you remember that? One of the myths we read about was that homelessness is part of life and there's nothing we can do about it. But we learned that that wasn't true. I also want to take a second here to remind you that we've been talking a lot about the idea of empathy. Do you remember what that means? Yell the definition out for me if you do. That's right. Empathy means the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. If we take the time to really understand how others feel when they are experiencing a serious problem like homelessness, then it can help to motivate us to work toward finding a solution, rather than just saying there's nothing we can do about it. As we read more about homelessness, we learned that some places in the United States have actually made some progress in solving the problem of homelessness, and that's our topic for today's lesson. Today we're going to learn about how to explain a problem and solution found in informational text. Let's start by reading the text together. Solutions to the problem of homelessness. So how can we solve the problem of homelessness? It would be helpful to think about both short-term and long-term solutions for homelessness. In the short term, providing a temporary place to stay so that people are able to get out of the cold, eat meals, and have access to a clean space with water is very important. Most cities have shelters that provide this service, but shelters need people to work at them and money to be able to stay open. Donating to a homeless shelter or volunteering to go and prepare or serve food are great ways to do your part in helping to provide a temporary solution. In the long term, permanent solutions are needed, which will take work by the government. Since the word homeless literally means without a house, the most important thing our government can do is to help make sure that housing is affordable. Providing enough public housing options for everyone who needs it will reduce the number of people who become homeless because their rent is too expensive. People also need to earn enough money to be able to pay for their home. In many parts of our country, the minimum wage, meaning the least amount of money your boss can legally pay you, is so low that it's hard for people to afford rent. But in states like California, Illinois, Maryland, and New York, the minimum wage is $15 an hour. Raising minimum wages is one way our government can help make sure people do not become homeless. Last of all, going to the hospital or seeing a doctor is very expensive in the United States. For this reason, sometimes people do not get the health care they need. Then, problems like mental health challenges or drug addiction become worse and lead to homelessness. Providing high-quality, affordable health care for everyone would help to reduce the number of people who become homeless because of reasons related to their health. Now, we're going to take a deeper dive into this informational text and focus on the problems and solutions that it lays out. The text talks about short-term and long-term solutions. What do you think term means? Write a guess on your paper. Did your guess have anything to do with time? Because that's what term means, a period of time. So short-term solutions would be solutions that fix the problem but aren't good solutions to last a long time. What was the short-term solution to the big problem of homelessness that the text talked about? Yes, they talked about shelters as a good short-term solution. The author said a shelter is a temporary place to stay so that people are able to get out of the cold, eat meals, and have access to a clean space with water. So we have found how this informational text explains a short-term solution to the problem of homelessness. But long-term solutions are a lot more complicated, and that may be one reason why a lot of people think this is just a problem that will never be solved. Let's break this problem down into a little more detail and look at some possible long-term solutions. To be ready for this next step, on your paper, make a T-chart that looks like this. It's called a T-chart because it looks like a big capital T. Label the left side problem and the right side solution, just like this. Good job. Now we're ready to tackle the long-term solutions in the text. Remember, long-term means solutions that could work over a longer period of time. Shelters are great if you don't have a home, but that's probably not somewhere you want to stay forever. So how can we get people back into their own homes? Well, the text says long-term solutions are going to take work by the government. These are not solutions that you or I can really make happen on our own. The government has the money and also the power to make big decisions that you or I do not have. To understand how problem and solution works in this part of the text, let's see if we can find a more specific problem to add to the chart on the left. I'm going to reread the first paragraph that talks about long-term. Since the word homeless literally means without a house, the most important thing our government can do is to help make sure that housing is affordable. Providing enough public housing options for everyone who needs it will reduce the number of people who become homeless because their rent is too expensive. Now, if I'm looking for a specific problem in this part of the text, I have to look all the way at the end to find it. The author said sometimes people's rent is too expensive. Go ahead and add that on the problem side of your T-chart. Now, the author says that one solution for this problem is for the government to make sure that housing is affordable so that people have enough money to pay the rent. So on the right side, we're going to add the solution, provide affordable housing. Let's do the next one. The author said people also need to earn enough money to be able to pay for their own home. In many parts of our country, the minimum wage is so low that it's hard for people to afford rent. But in states like California, Illinois, Maryland, and New York, the minimum wage is $15 an hour. Raising minimum wages is one way our government can help make sure that people do not become homeless. What's the specific problem here that we can add to the left side of the T-chart? Do you see it? Right in the middle of this section, it says the minimum wage is so low that it's hard for people to afford rent. I'll give you a minute to write that on the problem side. Done? Okay, now what did the text say could be a solution to that problem of low wages? In that last sentence, it said that raising the minimum wage would help solve that problem. And remember, it also listed some states where that has been done, right? Go ahead and add that solution to the right side of your chart. Now it's your turn. Let's take a look at the last paragraph of the text and see if you can identify both the problem and solution in this part of the text. Listen for those details while I read it aloud. Here's what it says. Last of all, going to the hospital or seeing a doctor is very expensive in the United States. For this reason, sometimes people do not get the health care they need. Then problems like mental health challenges or drug addiction become worse and lead to homelessness. Providing high-quality, affordable health care for everyone would help to reduce the number of people who become homeless because of reasons related to their health. Go ahead and see if you can fill out the problem side of your T-chart. What's the problem the author explains in this part of the text? That's right. This section focuses on how expensive it is to go see a doctor or to go to a hospital. Now, last of all, how does the author suggest we might be able to solve that problem? Find it and write it on the solution side of your paper. Did you focus on the part where it says something about high-quality, affordable health care? Good. The author is saying this is a problem that the government can solve by making sure that healthcare costs do not get so high that people end up losing their homes over them. Today we learned about finding problems and solutions in informational text. We use a graphic organizer called a T-chart to help us organize ideas on the paper and see how the details in the text fit together. Thank you so much for learning with me today. I hope you'll come back next time to practice our reading skills and continue to explore this important topic of homelessness in the United States.